Good morning, Carlsbad. It's a beautiful morning today, and it's great to see you. My name is Reverend Dr. Lori McMacken, and it is my honor this morning to give you this morning's message. Today, I'm going to be talking about the habits that make you blossom. How beautiful God is in our life and in our heart. This habit of keeping God in our heart and moving out into the world and just sharing the love with everyone else. But before I get into this amazing habit, let's close our eyes and pray. So closing our eyes and going within, recognizing and feeling and sensing and knowing that one power and that one presence and that one beautiful spirit that expresses in all and through all. And knowing that that spirit expresses through me and as me and by me. I live and I move and I have my beingness in the presence of the divine. And as I know this is my perfect truth, I know this is the perfect truth for each and every person here. Each person an individualized expression of the whole. Each person a unique expression of God. And I know that we come together as one to remember who we are, to love, to serve, to remember that essence of the divine that's continually expressing itself in an eternal way through each and every person. And I'm grateful for this time together as we come together as one to praise God, to praise life, to love each other. And I release my word into the law, knowing that it is good and it is so, and so it is. Hi, CSL Carlsbad. Oh my gosh. Here we are, May 2021, and we're going to be together soon. I can't wait. I am looking forward to having my community back. I mean, it's nice talking to my, sink and refrigerator and and the lights and everything around me, but I'm laughing at my own jokes and I'm getting sick of it. So let's get together so I can see your smiling face and we can exchange our energy. But don't worry, Facebook friends, we're not leaving you. We're keeping you here. We're going to be here filming so that you can join us on Sunday or watch us anytime that you would like. Yes. So today I'm talking about habits that make you blossom. That's right. God is so amazing. I mean, God is our inner world and God is our exterior world. God is our conscious mind, our subconscious mind. It's very tricky business. But when we really recognize how we have this creative power within us to create whatever we want in our life, to really look past the visible and into the eternal, and using that power of the imagination, we can be, do, and have anything that we can imagine in our mind. If we only can you understand that this is our creative power and this is the word of God as us in our life. So I walked into a store the other day. It was an annex postal store. And on the counter by the register, there was a book. And it was called The Boy in the Wagon. They Say I Will Never Walk Again. And it was by Kathy Yoke Rees, and she happens to be the owner of the store. And she wrote the book, and it was an autobiography of her father. And I thought, oh my God, I bet this is truly an inspirational and moving story. And I bought the book. Besides, the font of the book was like really big. I thought, okay, this book's for me. It's an easy read. I sat and read it, gobbled it up in an hour. So it was just an inspirational story. And it was about a man who was born in 1928, and he came from a coal mining family. There were 16 children in the family, and he was number 14. Wow. Can you imagine having 16 kids in the family? I guess there was no birth control back then. Anyway, they lived in a 2-bedroom house, no electricity, and the outhouse was outside. That is an interesting concept for me too. And one day when he was only 6 years old, he was going to school with his brother and sister. And you got to remember that his father was a coal miner. He went to work early in the morning when it was dark, and he came out of the mines later during the day when it was dark. And there was a song by Tennessee Williams that really depicts the lifestyle of a coal mining family. It goes like this: you load 16 tons, and what did you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. I owe my soul to the company store. Yes, I owe my soul to the company store, because they didn't get paid in money. They get paid in credit at the company store. There's only one store. That's where you got all your food, your clothing, any necessities was at that store. But his father did drink, and so they owed their money to the company store. However, he went to work every single day. And that was the beauty of his father. He truly supported his family. So as I was saying, he was only 6 years old, and he was walking to school with his brother and sister. And there was a big coal dump truck that was driving by, and the driver said, "Would you guys like a ride to school? If you do, just jump up in the back of the dump truck." So they all got in the back of the dump truck, and that's a pretty high dump truck for a little kid who was 6 years old. And when they got to school, the truck driver stopped, and the two kids jumped out, and little John was a little tentative because it was a long drop. So eventually he jumped out, but when he jumped out, the truck driver thought he was already out of the car and moved forward, and the truck ran him over. And the brother and sister screamed at the truck driver, and then the truck driver backed up and ran over the little boy again by mistake. It was really a tragic moment in his life. And so when he went to the hospital, he had internal injuries, his arms, his upper body was broken, his lower body was broken, and they definitely said that they were going to have to amputate his legs. Now, his father, working in the coal mine, at one time in his life had a coal mining accident, and he lost a leg. So he was an amputee, and he was a peg leg. So he yelled at the doctors and said, "Do not amputate my kid's leg." And they told him that he would never walk again. And his father said to his son, "Don't listen to the doctors." So that poor child was in the hospital for 1.5 years. He had multiple surgeries, or he was taped up in a cast from head to toe. And his family, they didn't have much money. They didn't have the money to go visit him. So only once in a while did he see his mother or anyone in his family. But he had nurses, and there was other children that were healing from injuries. And he also had a wheelchair that he was able to use. And eventually he was able to have a bed that was by the window. And as he looked out the window, he was by the Allegheny River in Pittsburgh. And there was a boat, and behind the boat was pulling a person that was skiing on skis, water skiing. And he'd never seen that before. But in the back of his mind, he said, "One day I'm going to water ski." This is where he started that creative process, where he wasn't looking at his legs or what the doctors were telling him, or the fact that he would never walk again. He was saying to himself, "One day I'm going to water ski." So he was in the hospital for 1.5 years, and eventually he went home 1.5 years later, and without the wheelchair. So he had no wheelchair, and he couldn't walk. And his brothers and sister basically drug him around the house. And there was a wagon that they had, and they pulled him around in the wagon. That's how he became the boy in the wagon. But he would sit on the front porch, and he would watch his brothers and sisters play. And in his mind, he was creating. He was using that creative process. He was using his imagination. "One day I'm going to be able to walk. One day I'm going to play. I'm going to play sports one day. I'm going to go to school with everyone else. I'm going to run. I'm going to work. I'm going to do everything that everyone else is doing." And he's imagining this in his mind. And out of nowhere, what happened, there was a letter that came in the mail, and they wanted to fit him for braces for his legs. Now, they tried to sue the company, the trucking company, and the trucking company didn't want to give them any money, so they knew the father drank. So they took the father to the bar before the court case and got him so drunk that the judge didn't give them any money. But in John's eye, that was a blessing, because he did not have a wheelchair. He was forced to stand up and walk. And when he got those braces, he couldn't walk either. Even with the braces, he wasn't strong enough. But every day he tried harder and harder, and he fell down, and he got back up, and he fell down, and he got back up, and he fell down, and he got back up. It was that power of repetition, physical repetition, building his muscles up, and his mental repetition in his mind, feeling and sensing and knowing that one day he was going to be like all the other children. At the age of 10, he was walking, he was playing, he was running, he was doing what everyone else did. And he truly used his imagination. He used his creative power to look past what is and to look into the future and to give himself a better life. And then one day he married the love of his life, and her family gave them a parcel of land, and he built a home. Matter of fact, it was one of the first homes that actually had electricity in it. And he realized he was a really good builder. So he became a builder, and he had enough money to take care of his family and have luxuries. He bought a boat, he learned how to water ski, and he taught all his kids how to water ski. What a beautiful ending to a story. And it's just very inspiring to see a child be so creative and so determined to look past what is and what was going on in his life. Now, Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, he quotes, "The science of mind gives us a passion for a new possibility, along with precise and clear directing for building a new matrix of mind and manifestation. It shows us how to activate the constructive imagination." Yes, take that to mind. Constructive imagination. And how to hold in thought and feeling the intention and energy for healing, holding, and creation. So there you have it. There's nothing that you can't be, do, and have if you use your constructive imagination. It's all about the inner talk that we tell ourselves. So I have another fun story of a friend. He's a male friend, and he had a job at a grocery store. He was the person in the back that took all the deliveries. He managed all the deliveries coming in, all the truck drivers coming in. But he also had spiritual practices. And he learned a spiritual practice that you sit and you meditate and you open your heart and you bring this sense of unconditional love into your heart. And you kind of like spiritualize yourself. And then you go out into the world and you give that love to the world. So that morning, he spiritualized himself with unconditional love. And he took that feeling and that intention out into the world. And he's at work and he's in the back with all the truck drivers. And one truck driver looked at him and said, "Hey, man, I love you." And then another truck driver said, "Yeah, I love you too." And he's standing there in the grocery store, and all these men, these macho men, are telling him that they love him. And this is like a direct reflection of what was going on in his inner being. What was the talk that he was telling himself, and how was that reflecting in his life? So remember, every time we exercise our imagination lovingly on the behalf of another, we are literally meditating God to that person, because imagination is truly the key to successful living and successful relationships. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So when man discovers that we have this creative power, this inner talking, and we can use this as and realize this is the mission in our life, to think creatively, we won't have any problem finding our purpose. We will have knowledge and we can use it consciously. So be like God, be an imitator of love through your imagination. So there's a book that I've been reading. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's about how to cultivate good habits in your life. And this is mainly on the exterior world, though we do know they're cultivated in the interior world, how to get rid of bad habits in your life. And one thing that John Clear recommends is called habit stacking. That's right. So if you already have, let's say, a habit of meditating in your life on a regular basis, after that meditation, you would stack another habit on top of that so you can make it a habit. So let's say you wanted to make it a habit that every day you bring someone that you are having difficulty with into your life and into your heart, and you love them. And as you are loving them, you can bring that love out into the world. So this becomes a habit, but you do this after you meditate. So you don't have to think about, oh, every day I'm going to I'm going to bring someone into my heart. It's like I'm already sitting, I'm meditating. I stop meditating. I bring someone into my heart. I give them the love of God, and then I move out into the world. So there was a young woman who was a boss at work, and she was having problems with one of her employees. He was criticizing her all the time, and it was really bothering her. So she went to a practitioner, and she told the practitioner, she's a victim of reality. I'm the victim. This person's criticizing me. This person's picking on me. This person's making my life miserable. And of course, a practitioner always says that, you have three fingers pointing forward, but there's one finger pointing forward, but there's three fingers pointing back. What in your consciousness is making this man criticize you? And she asked the girl, are you arguing with this man in your mind? Oh my God, she says, every day, all day long, I'm having an argument with him in my mind. He said, okay, so why don't you just bring him into your heart and love him instead of having an argument with him, and send him positive energy instead of negative energy, and then come back to me next week and tell me what happens. So she went home and she gave some loving juju to this man, and her life changed at work. He started complimenting her and treating her nice, and he was reflecting back to her inner world. Yes, this is exactly how it works. So if there's, someone in your life that you're having difficulty with them, instead of trying to get back at them, love them up and see what happens. It will amaze you when we consciously use our imagination and the power of our inner thoughts. Okay, so yesterday I had a man here he was building me a new sliding screen door for my sliding glass door. And he showed up and he measured, and then he went out front. I'm sitting in my living room and I hear a saw. And I'm like, I wonder where he's making that screen. So I decided to go outside and check it out. And he has this big truck, and behind the truck, he's like pulling like this platform on wheels, and that was his workspace to build the screen. And I thought this was really interesting. So I just kind of go out and look at the truck and looking at his space, and he's irritated at me. He's like, what do you want? Like, get out of my space. And I'm like, oh, I was just checking out your workspace, that's all. And he didn't want nothing to do with me. So I thought, all right, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to go inside and pray for you. I'm going to love you up. So I sat down and I thought about him telling me something in his life that was really beautiful. And I thought about all the good that's coming into his life. And I thought about him having a healthy body, healthy mind, healthy spirit, whatever it is, whatever his needs are, they're all fulfilled and they're all met. Forgot about it, right? So at the end of his job, I go out there and I inspect the screen. It's really nice. I'm really happy with it. And I start telling him, I said, if you look behind you and you look up, there's a hummingbird nest. Matter of fact, one of the little hummingbirds flew off the other day with its mother. And then he started telling me how he had a hummingbird nest in his backyard. And at the time, his mother was in hospice. And the day she made her passing was the day that the hummingbird flew off. And before the hummingbird flew off, it came back and flew right into his face and looked at him straight in the eye. And he knew that was his mother. I couldn't believe he shared that heartfelt experience with me. I was so amazed. And then we started talking about other situations. And he was telling me about his knee problems and this problem and that problem. He must have needed someone to talk with. But I did open that space up for love. And it was just beautiful to have that demonstration like ASAP. So this is your job. Your job is to love people up. Your job is not listen to a talk and walk away. Your job is to take these techniques with you and to apply them to your life. Because remember, God has given us two gifts, mind and speech. And with these two gifts, we create circumstances in our life. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You heard that, and you are made in the likeness and kindness of the divine image of God. So these are all your powers that you have within you. You have superpowers. You might as well use them. Yeah. So I met this really sweet old man the other day, and I don't know how this happened. We were having this intimate conversation, and he said, well, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a spiritual leader and I'm also a landlord. And he's like, oh, I'm a landlord too. And I wanted to talk about my spiritual leadership, but he wanted to talk about landlording. So I was okay with that. I usually don't talk about that. And yeah, I was saying, oh yeah, I have really good tenants. And he was saying, yeah, I have really good tenants too. And I said, oh, well, I pray for my tenants every day and I love them up inside and they have no idea. I just know they have good credit and they pay their rent on time. But I have this one tenant that I really like a lot, and he pays his rent a month early every single time. And he's telling me how much he loves his tenants and how good they were. And it was just a realizing that we have created this habit of loving these people in our life that support us in ways that we can give our good to the world. And so we have to remember when we have people in our life, and there are times where I do get this landlord-tenant relationship. And the funny thing is when that happens, they just vibrate out of my life like so easy. It's just, oh, wow, they just left this bubble of love. Yeah, I had one that couldn't pay for COVID, and boy, he was gone like 2 months later, and I was just so grateful for that. Anyways, I have this beautiful woman in my life that I want to share with you her story, because it's basically reflecting what we're talking about today. And she was in a long-term marriage, and her husband suddenly passed away. Now, they had this business that they had together, and he was basically the person that ran the business. But then when he passed away, she found herself in a male-dominated environment as a leader in this business that was unexpected to her. And she started to walk into this unfamiliar territory. And when you walk in your unfamiliar territory, you can be a little insecure. So she was insecure about her position at that time. And people were saying, oh, she's never going to make it. The business is going to fail, because they were reflecting back to her what she was thinking about herself, the fears that were going on in her mind. But what happened is she had this dream, and in her dream, she saw part of this tree that was dying. And she knew that part of her business, it was a metaphor, was dying, and she needed to get rid of it in order to save the tree. So she got rid of that part of the business, and it opened her up to create new products. And her business became very, very successful. And she became a very powerful female leader. And all of a sudden, other women are looking at her saying, wow, how did you do that? I want to do that too. So her gift that she was able to give back to the world was to run seminars to empower other female business leaders. And, that's just how it works, and how beautiful it is that she was able to consciously look at how people were treating her when she was in unfamiliar territory. She wasn't as confident, and then how it changed when she became powerful and confident and just standing in her leadership role. One New Thought leader I love is Nivelle Goddard, and he quotes, "The secret of success is the controlled inner conversation from the fantasies of our inner desires." The controlled inner conversations from the fantasies of our inner desires. And the fantasies is the imagination, how powerful that we use this imagination to have these inner desires that we can manifest out in the world. So to create heaven on earth, one must give up the old conversations that we had in our mind and create new ones. It is kind of like a renewal of the mind, and only say the words that are actively aligned with our ideas that bring heaven to earth. Now, however, I'm not going to talk about the negative side of this. Through habit, man has negatively used his power. Man criticizes others and gloats over the distress of our neighbors, and in general pours out venom all over the world. And such misuse of this power, misuse of the word, penetrates the violence of the world. And it also penetrates pandemics. I mean, this is why we have a pandemic. The pandemic is just reflecting us on a collective level, the fear that we are feeling. So how important it is that we all rise to a higher level of love and beauty. Meditate. Take this practice with you. Meditate inwardly every single day, over and over and over. And hold fast to your inner convictions and the conversations that you have with you in your mind. And meditate for others and pray for them. And pray for those people that you are having difficult relationships with. And love them up and just watch how your relationships will change. All right. So in closing, I just want to quote a quote from our beloved Ernest Holmes. All thought is creative. Since this is true, it follows that we cannot say that one thought is creative while another one is not. We must say that all thought is creative according to nature, the impulse, the emotion, or the conviction behind the thought. And remember, heaven and earth are states of consciousness. So as within, so without, as above, so below. So make it a habit to create heaven on earth. All right, my friends, let's close our eyes and pray. So sensing and feeling and knowing that heaven is right here and right now. Heaven is within me, that feeling of love and beauty and wholeness, all the varieties of spirit expressing itself so beautifully in my world and outside of the world. I know for each and every person, their inner world is filled with joy, filled with love, filled with beauty. And as they fill this inner world up with the presence of God, the outer world reflects it. And how grateful I am for this truth. And how grateful I am for this practice, for this conscious knowing, as I release my word into the beautiful law of mind. And so it is. All right, beautiful people. I'm praying for you. I'm loving you. I'm missing you. And I can't wait to see you soon. Mwah! Have a great day.